So we're here today in Great Barrow and we're looking at a Trees for Climate funded project that we've been supporting the landowner with recently, as well as looking at the natural flood management interventions that we've done with support from the Mersey Forest team and partners as well. So we have a brook that is adjacent to this site, it borders a site, and the land is prone to flooding quite often.
The landowner here was having issues with the river breaching its bank, and that raised bank had eroded away and water was spilling out onto the floodplain, and it was then making its way towards the properties that were at risk of flooding. So he brought us in to try and give some advice on how to repair that raised bank in a way that was sympathetic to the environment. We suggested using a sort of more traditional technique, willow spiling, where you sort of drive in vertical posts and then weave live willow rods around that, and it becomes a sort of living willow wall and bank up the soil behind it to create that raised bank. The willow then sort of reinforces the bank, and you get this amazing kind of habitat as well for all sorts of creatures to sort of make their homes in. What we've ended up with is a series of 4 ponds that kind of fill in series as water sort of spills onto the floodplain. So we've got a decent amount of extra storage here within those ponds. The reduction in flows downstream through the water that these ponds are going to hold and temporarily attenuate those peak flows, that's going to have a benefit to those communities downstream. The residents downstream are really happy that this has happened.
So we've chosen 3 different planting types on this site, and they've all been chosen for their own reasons. So the far field over there, as you can see, there's some tree species in the background, and we chose to do natural regeneration in that area, which is essentially allowing the area to self-seed by the local tree species to create a local woodland. And because this area is quite willow dominant, we've also suggested some suitable supplementary species for them to plant, and this is going to be wet woodland focused. So that's aspen, downy birch, alder that will tolerate the wet soils in those conditions. So if landowner wants to increase species diversity, they can do, or they can leave it to self-seed. So we'll continue to monitor this with them. The landowner was keen to introduce a lot of hedgerows to the site, and these are all mixed species. So it's 7 native species, predominantly hawthorn, hazel and blackthorn. Hedges are also really important to connect with wider habitats, so other woodlands, other hedges. It really provides a pathway and wildlife corridors for species to travel through with the shelter from predators. So it's a really great way of integrating tree cover in your land without full-scale woodland creation. So it's a really nice option for smaller sites such as this one. And this field as well, we've decided to do some low density planting for a number of reasons, one of which being this field is closer to the landowner's property, so we didn't want to obstruct any views which normal woodland creation would have done. And there's also a lot of ponds in this area, so we've introduced low density style planting to prevent long-term shading that full woodland creation would have done. So the Trees for Climate grant that we've used to fund this project is part of DEFRA's Nature for Climate funding, and it's a really bespoke and flexible grant programme that can incorporate a number of different planting types. So we can do full-scale woodland creation on larger schemes or even pockets of land, smaller areas. As well as this, we can also incorporate some of the techniques that we've used on this site, such as natural regeneration, hedge creation, and with low density planting we can look at options to integrate this within different land types. The really good thing about Trees for Climate grant is that we can tailor this to each landowner and really choose different planting types to support their needs and objectives for the land. So hopefully when these trees establish, it'll bring a wealth of wildlife coming through, helping with connecting with other habitats and supporting the ongoing natural flood management work that Rob has been doing with the landowner as well.
Throughout all of this work, the landowner had a real focus on sort of the environment, improving habitat, improving biodiversity. So that was why he's really keen on the sort of willow spiling, and he also really wanted to incorporate a pond within the design. And as we've ended up with sort of 4 ponds, that's even better. So yeah, we've got some amazing, really beneficial habitat there for kind of aquatic life. And then obviously all the trees around as well are going to only add to that. So yeah, it's been a fantastic project.